FPX has had enough of being on the red side. Looks like FPX has had enough of that Nocturne pick, banning out the flex of the Renekton, banning out the Nocturne, banning out the Nidalee, and in response, we're at them with the Hecarim Thresh and Akali bans, and a Lilia locking coming in from FPX, so first pick with a counter into the Udyr. Lilia, of course, just wanting to just power farm for the majority of the game and then just pretty much get some easy ganks off if possible and then participate in team fights, while Udyr, of course, wants to generate as much of a lead early on as possible. It looks like, whoa, I was gonna say mid jungle 2v2 looks like it's going to be going in favor of Rare Atom. With this Orianna pick, however, I am not sure that it kind of busts open a window. If they went for something like perhaps the Lucian or maybe even a Syndra, I think they would have been a little bit stronger. Orianna is a little bit weak in the early game, as you saw from Doingby in the other game. He was really using a ton of mana just to wave clear. I suppose it's better than Azir for mid jungle 2v2 in the early levels, as Tristana is being hovered here. This could potentially be a mid lane Tristana or an AD carry Tristana. Most likely, however, this is going to be an AD carry Tristana, as for the fourth game in a row, Rel is locked in here for Chris. Chris really not getting very much variety going on. Fofo on screen, smiling now, knowing that he is feeling confident in allowing Doingby to counter pick his mid laner. Very interesting turn of events here coming in from Rare Atom, kind of shaking things up, not leaving their solo laners to be their last two picks. In fact, leaving their support up to be last two picked, which is kind of odd, I feel, because you already kind of know, in my opinion, what Crisp is going to go for, what he's going to be left with. So far, if the Rel has kind of been working almost every single game, a few unfortunate ults here and there, but for the most part, his ults have been really on point. As the Irelia ban coming in now, this could be signaling to FPX that they are looking for a Gnar pick. FPX, though, regardless of that, they probably are fully aware of this, regardless of the fact, will still look to ban out counter engage and disengage supports. Rare Atom here could look for the Gangplank ban, perhaps even a Gragas ban, potentially even a I think it's the main two. I would Jace, Gragas, and Gangplank. Actually, a set ban coming in here from RA, targeting out. It's again, set is another potential bruiser flex pick between the mid and the top lane. However, FPX, will they ban another counter engage support here? Could potentially look to ban the Gragas out. Of course, Gragas will be a top and support dual ban, and Maokai is actually the choice here. Didn't think the Maokai was super effective in the last game, but perhaps it gave the members of FPX's bot lane a bit of a hard time, and that's a hard time that they do not want to experience for a second time in a row, as the Jace actually is being hovered here by the members of RA. They want to use it in the top lane by the looks of it, leaving themselves kind of open to being counter-picked here. Because Jace is mostly about getting advantages early, and if you don't get those advantages early, you really lose a lot of effectiveness. Rare Atom, I'm not really liking the way they're going with this composition. A bit divey, but at the same time, not very. Because you got Udyr trying to run in, and you've got the Jace trying to poke. You got the Orianna trying to fight from mid-distance, and the Kai'Sa, which can do either one. As could this be doing these famous Kled mid? Looks like it is. Looks like he was waiting for Rare Atom to lock in the Orianna. Rare Atom thinking that they've taken away Doingby's comfort pick for the round, trying to force him, perhaps even Twisted Fate is on. So I'm not really quite sure what is the logic behind this second pick Orianna coming in from Rare Atom. As Malphite is being hovered right now, FPX looking to bludgeon Rare Atom to death with the Bruiser mid lane Kled, as well as the Malphite pick top lane. Gragas, of course, like I mentioned, is one of those supports that can really disengage very well from the Rel. Rel will be kind of forced to use his flash, otherwise the body slam can knock Rel off of her crash down. Taric is being covered here as well, and that will give this team a bunch of team fighting, I suppose, but this is much better because you really need the long range engage coming in. Your engage so far is pretty lackluster. You got the Udyr running in, who can be knocked about by the Rel, by the Tristana, to a certain extent by the Malphite as well. Malphite looking to be rock solid. It looks like FPX identified the fact that Rare Atom wants to play towards the top side, wants to snowball that, wants to do what FPX did to Rare Atom back And FPX in response has decided, okay, you know what? If you want to play towards the top side, we're going to create an immovable rock. That's why they also hovered the Scion. Scion also an incredibly fantastic scaling top lane champion who is notoriously hard to dive, notoriously safe and secure. Looking at both the compositions, however, I really do not know who scales better. Rare Atom with the Jace top doesn't have fantastic scaling. However, with the Mana Mune and perhaps a bit of Conqueror, I assume he's going Conqueror, will most likely be able to do some damage, but against the tank and bruiser solo lanes of FPX, he could experience some difficulty. Orianna with the Liandry's will actually be able to do quite a bit of work, as well as the fact that she likes to play in that mid-range region, while both of the solo laners for FPX are melee. That being said, if she's jumped on, there's a good chance she will be completely exploded. In the bot side, Tristana means that FPX will always have that huge tower sieging potential. The Rel, of course, will probably look to make plays elsewhere across the map. Hail of Blades coming in here from that Tristana, as well as Comet for Nuguri. In the top side, Cube actually going for Omni Stone instead of Conqueror. And for the most part, every other lane is looking pretty standard as always. I must say that of course, I'm a huge FPX fan. Everyone knows this. I'm very much looking forward to seeing this Kled in action. Very, very much a doing B classic. Haven't seen the Knot in a while since like 2019, which is unfortunate, as Super Carry doing B sign is waved in the crowd, and you know that is a fact as well, my dear lad. Degree actually using doing B skin in the top side of the map over here. Meanwhile, across the map, it looks like everyone is playing pretty safe, slightly aggressive posturing coming in here from members of Rare Atom. But alas, it will result in very little to nothing, as next game we're going to be casting is being put up on screen right now. It is Suning against World Elite. I'm considering not casting this game and instead going over to the next FPX game. However, that being said, I quite enjoy watching Suning play. SOFM is a true gem, and World Elite, of course, has done fantastically in the regular season for the spring split. So honestly, it looks to be a very promising game, but depending on the time limitations and such, we will see how it goes, as a top side leashed start coming in here for Tian. Meanwhile, in the bottom side, Leyen getting a leash as well. I think Udyr will most definitely get ahead in terms of early farming, at least right off the bat. In the mid lane, Doing B seems to really enjoy being at a range disadvantage, really seems to enjoy being slightly harassed by the enemy mid laner. This potentially could be considered a weakness that can be exploited later on in the tournament, if you think about it. As Chris jumping in now onto how both aftershocks have been procced, and as they explode, they both supports disengage. Nuguri and Cube just trading back and forth here, but Nuguri with his passive shield will be able to weather a lot of the storm that Jace is trying to probably put pressure onto. As we see from Leon starting in the bot side, he really just wants to finish towards the top side. It's up to Cube to start building up a wave and perhaps look to crash it as soon as Leon has finished his full clear, which will be in about a minute and 15 seconds at this point in time. Maybe just a minute actually, sorry. But if Nuguri continues to be able to trim the wave like this, and the wave is an awesome position for Nuguri right now, very, very comfortable. Meanwhile, in the bottom side, LWS and Chris looking to have the advantage in terms of push. We see here, the camera's focus here because this is, again, the key battleground for both sides. FPX now want to be able to keep Nuguri safe, allow him to scale onto the later game, allow him to be a threat in team fights, while Cube really wants to try and build a wave and allow Leyen to come in for the dive before this Malphite becomes too tanky. While the Malphite actually has a weakness in terms of mana consumption, and as I said, Leyen rounding the corner now, I can't really see the wave from this perspective, but I think that Nuguri has done a fantastic job clearing it out, but it looks like it's not enough to dissuade Leyen as he's rounding the corner. Nuguri has no mana, has no jungler around him to keep him safe, does have flash, but so do Leyen and Cube, as a huge wave is coming in. Nuguri, to be expected, is facing a dive over here. Do they have enough damage? Flashing away from the two skies. Cube found himself under the tower as Leyen takes him down for first blood. Very well juggled here. This looks to be just similar to the start of game 3. And the funny thing is that I'm pretty sure FPX should have game plan for this. It was very obvious from the get-go what the plan is for RA, as Chris trying to jump in, but Hound is using his body slam to keep his AD carry safe. Again, the sole purpose for picking the Gragas is really just the body slam for now, and later on maybe the ultimate to catch / provide some long range disengage. So with the Lilia pick, really very little could have been done to save Nuguri up in that top side unless Doinbi wanted to channel the teleport, which he probably could have done, but Fofo I think was pressuring him very well in the mid lane. Again, an inconsistency if you ask me when it comes to FPX, a potential weakness in that Doinbi likes to pick these mid laners that get pushed in, and in doing so, you kind of give the enemy initiative, and you allow the enemy to have initiative to make some kind of plays like this without fear of any really repercussions, because they have mid lane priority and that's huge. Meanwhile, Cube trying to trade in here with his item advantage, which honestly is just a Tear and a Doran's Blade, seems to be not going so well in his favor, honestly, as Nuguri easily able to trade back here with that combat as well as his shard damage. Meanwhile, Tian prancing around in the map, actually still slightly behind when it comes to CS, trying to take away the Raptors, but Lian has rounded the corner and Fofo is here to protect his jungler. Again, mid lane priority going in favor of a rare atom, and FPX found himself in a pincer. Found himself in a pincer location. Doinbi at half HP. Flash coming in from Tian, stunning him out, but Tian is low. Well, Lian is out of mana. FPX forced to flash. Tian forced to flash. I'm sorry, as Doinbi has been dismounted, trying to fight still, channeling up his Conqueror now, but the fight has disengaged. Doinbi actually being taken quite low. Fofo running a bit low on mana, but doesn't mean that he cannot kill Doinbi, as one more QW combo, which Fofo does not have the mana for, will eventually lead to his death. I keep on calling Tian FPX for some reason. I suppose he is kind of like a key member, as the jungler is a very important part of the team, but he is most definitely not the entirety of FPX. Meanwhile, in the bottom side, it looks like everything is going even as well. Nuguri is slightly behind in CS, about 12 CS down, 2 waves, which can be seen as a lot. Okay, this is very important. So if Lian manages to get a dive here for the second time, I wonder if Nuguri expects this. There are no wards out, but he can potentially see this. Doinbi has teleport, is waiting in base, is waiting for this eventual dive. Lian considering not doing anything because he knows as well that Doinbi is not in the area, and Nuguri now is quite tanky. As soon as Nuguri hits 6, these dives will potentially be too dangerous to execute, as Cube is way too squishy, and Lian also hasn't gotten very many resistances just yet. Lian now just settling for the blue buff instead of a full... Oh, blue buff hasn't even spawned yet. Waiting for the Gromp to spawn. He is about to run into Tian. Lian has reached a level 6 much sooner than Tian because of that gank in the top side. He has used his smite. Oh, but the Phoenix Dance is just enough. Cube has backed off now, so Lian has found himself in a 1v3 situation deep behind enemy territory. Doinbi zooming past, unfortunately, has no breaks with the Kled machine. Tian is still not 6, will not be able to CC down Lian. But Lian is just simply being kited at this point in time. As in comes Doinbi. Unfortunately, Nuguri is pretty pissed at that dive, I believe, because he uses the Unstoppable Force and fires off all the fireworks available in his systems. Will not have teleport, but Cube won't be in lane to pressure him as Hung comes tumbling down the mid lane. Sauntering, one would even say, to perhaps try and get some vision out. I don't believe they will threaten to dive Doinbi, because Doinbi looks to be in a pretty safe position right now, but Hung just getting some deep vision where possible, and Chris realizing that there's someone in the bot side jungle looking to take as safe a route as possible back home. Hung with the classic deep vision. Sometimes in solo queue that vision does not get cleared at all. Tian, not FPX, Tian in the top side, getting engaged on by Lian, stunning him with the bear stance. Ball is on, Heart Wave coming in, but 2-man sleep potentially could go down. Unfortunately, Tian was not able to press the R button fast enough. Hung in the mid lane allows pushing the wave in, allowing his team to get a man advantage in that fight. Looks like RA looking to grab up the dragon now. Deep vision, of course, already established by Hung. So, in his own way, Hung is actually making big plays. He's even clearing out vision here. We see his stats. He's actually 18th. Oh, dang. 18th when it comes to damage. But I suppose that doesn't really matter, as Doinbi jumping in now onto 4-4, but Hung is around the corner yet again. The MVP coming in, Body Slam coming in, Barrel coming in, doing 0 damage. Like we said, DT 18th, sorry. DT 18th in the league so far. Fofo, I would say, is having a pretty free lane, but Doinbi is doing a fantastic job keeping up. Nuguri's CS disadvantage unfortunately has become quite massive as of late, now growing to 20 from 12 previously. Meanwhile, on the bottom side, LWX also seemingly able to pick himself up a mini CS advantage as well. So as the game goes on, I would say the FPX are feeling much more comfortable. At least, okay, Nuguri is feeling much more comfortable. That being said, Doinbi, once he I think, okay, as the mid game approaches, FPX are feeling mighty comfortable because all the champions spike very well. Nuguri will, when he gets his items, will scale first off, and then doing B, once he gets maybe 1 or 2 items, actually 1 item, will be able to do tons of damage. Probably will solo out Fofo in the mid lane. Meanwhile, Rare Atom, they kind of fall into a bit of a lull in the mid game, but in the late game, I think they have a little bit. No, actually, late game definitely goes over the side of FPX. They have a few more tanks and have very consistent damage dealers in the Lilia. As Doing B looks to be surrounded here, gets his chomper onto Liam, pulling him in, jumping in. As Nuguri comes in with the Ultra 2-man! Shockwave coming in pretty late to try and peel them away from Fofo, but in the top side, Tien is 1v1 in cube. Sleep coming out, forcing him to flash over the wall. Doing B jumping in as well, Fofo flashing as well. And Nuguri, with passion and anger, just getting a beautiful flash ultimate coming in. Oh no, Rift Herald's gonna cancel. Rift Herald canceling out Nuguri's back. Actually, the leash range of that big seafood is actually pretty exceptional. As Doing B, knowing that he and his team are stronger at this point in time, just forcing the issue out there, and then Nuguri coming in with the unstoppable force and simply winning out that fight. Meanwhile, on the bot side, as it has gone for the past 3 games, things are going very much, very calmly, honestly. It's like, at best, there's a CS lead going either way for the AD carries, but most of the action is occurring towards the top side of the map by far, as Tien now again trying to secure up this Scuttle Crab, which he lost his life to secure last time, as a teleport is coming in from Q. Doing B could potentially be a bit pincered here, but on Skrull, he simply saunters away. Nuguri is back in lane, ultimate halfway off of cooldown. Key ultimates are actually what you fight around here as FPX. They have a magnificent team fight, magnificent 3v3. However, that does require them to have cooldowns, and it looks like Tien is not going to be able to do very much here, as Doing B is stuck in mid lane. Nuguri is getting top priority, that being said, and Leyen is kind of pincered in between the top lane and jungler, as Lalo is jumping in here with the rocket jump. Actually, LWX autoing a minion over there, making a slight bit of a mistake as Nuguri jumps in as well. The Rift Herald is actually reset. Leyen slowed by the shard coming in from Malphite. And Rift Herald will not get a moment's rest, unfortunately. Oh, it looks like he will, actually. Because I thought Tien was about to start it up again. LWX actually just jumping into it. LWX jumping in with the rocket jump, flashing after iBoy. And just like that, securing himself the kill. Pick X advantage going in favor of LWX. Hung is rounding the corner, does have his ultimate. LWX, beautiful sidestep. As the flash coming in, where was the body step? Body step did not come down. Ignite. LWX is walking on to the barrel. It looks like despite all his good plays, LWX, that was not enough as Hung tanks out the damage with Aftershock as well as his W. Where was Crisp throughout that fight? I suppose he must have been running towards mid lane. So LWX, pretty big play overall because he managed to crash the wave as well. So not only did iBoy die, iBoy also lost a fair chunk of CS. In the top side here, Nuguri doesn't even have an armor item outside of Ninja Tabby / Praetor Stonegreaves. But I suppose he is still going to be a huge problem. 20 CS lead still being maintained in the top side. However, that's really not going to count as much as in the bot side. There's also a 20 CS lead as Nuguri is fighting out Cube here. Actually trying to tank up the minion wave as well. Nuguri at this HP won't be able to contribute very meaningfully in the team fight. Might just ultimate in and die. Hung is also up in the top side. And based on the positioning of FPX, this looks to be a free top tower as well as Rift Herald going over to the members of Rare Atom. Now, of course, you kind of want to dislodge Cube, I suppose, from this top lane. Doing B does not have teleport, is walking towards the bottom side, but Tien is here doing both his blue buff and his Grum. Leyen spotting him out, opting to run away instead of attempt a steal. Unbeknownst to him, of course, because Doing B is in the bot side jungle without RA's vision on him. Unbeknownst to Leyen, he could potentially have actually made a huge play here. Nuguri opting to use his E rather than throw a shard at Cube is actually 1 level down, and again, the Scuttle Crabs have really been a point of contestation here, but Tien deciding he doesn't want nothing to do with it, just opts to run away. In spite of losing what I feel like is the last 3 to 4 top Scuttle Crabs, Tien is actually keeping up in CS miraculously well. Hung has to stay down here now because not only can Chris engage on his AD carry, so can LWX as shown. Now FPX changing up the tempo of the game now as Rift Herald is dropped in the top side. Charge coming in here from Doing B, not going to hit anything, however will zone out the members of RA's bottom lane. And with Nuguri in the top side, this Rift Herald will not get a second charge out. So FPX deciding, you know what, we're going to change things out. Will he get charge off? Please! Oh, so close. members of FPX just deciding, you know what, if you're going to put so much pressure to us our top side, we're just going to counter pressure you in the bot side. Eyeboy rotating now into the mid lane to try and get something back for himself as Hang using... Oh, never mind. I thought Hang was going to use off. Didn't have flash there. Hang actually not doing so badly for himself. Honestly, doing a fantastic job so far. But LWX massively ahead in terms of items and gold, actually finishing out his mythic item as Dragon has spawned now. This will most definitely go in favor of FPX. Their bot lane has acquired themselves such a massive lead. It is hard to believe that Rare Atom will be able to contest this very well, especially considering the fact that Eyeboy is all the way in base. Now, really doesn't look like much to be going on. Like being said, last time I said that in game 1, things really popped off and started accelerating as Dragon is taken down. Nuguri is trying to clear out whatever vision he can in the top side, and perhaps is just lurking around there, so to ensure that if there is a team fight, he can reach there in a relatively short amount of time. Now his tower might be gone, which might making farming certain waves a little bit more risky, but doing B trading towers back across the bottom side of the map is just chilling, probably waiting for his ultimate to come off cooldown, actually nearly off cooldown as it is, to look for a nice flank into the mid lane. Eyeboy can't really be kept too safe by Hang. Hang will just need to body block it with his W and of course his person. And for now, it looks to be a pretty chill game, not too much going on. Lian has made some pretty big plays, has managed to get a nice tower dive in the early parts of the game. However, 2 tower dives were successfully pulled off in game 3. This time, only 1 successful tower dive. Nuguri only actually having 1 death so far. He could potentially be sauntering into his next death here. Liam wanting to perhaps test himself out onto Nuguri. Now that being said, despite them being even on CS, I really don't expect Lian to do too much damage onto Nuguri as of now, and as of course the game goes on, he will be doing even less damage. FPX actually losing bot side tower for free by the looks of it, trying their darndest to siege out mid lane. However, really don't have much wave clear outside of LWX and his explosive shot passive. Nuguri taking 0 damage from the shock blast coming in from Cube. Cube with his Jace will be able to siege down towers very effectively, and is being shadowed by Lian here, to the full knowledge of FPX, of course. Meanwhile, on the top side, Doing Beach is having a field day with top tower. So I suppose that's why there's no need for a response, because they know they're just going to trade tier 1 towers. And Nuguri just picking up whatever he can. The CS lead in the top side has really exploded exponentially into the 50 CS mark. Ladies and gentlemen, as Rare Atom are struggling, it looks like, in the mid lane to hold on to their last vestige of outer tower defense. Doing B just denying as much CS as possible. Meanwhile, let's see what Rare Atom opt to do here. Dragon is spawning in 2 minutes and 40 seconds. Rift Herald should be spawning in about the next 2 minutes as well, as Fofo just trying to steal away his own Krugs from Tien. Tien now, after all that, really hasn't done very much on the map. Died once in the Scuttle Crab contest. Has actually managed to acquire himself a level lead over Lian. I suppose that's just the nature of the Lilia. Just farm up until team fights, and then that's where you really have the time of your life. Once Nuguri gets 1 more armor item, however, are really going to find a hard time. I think Cube is going to have a hard time finding his mark against this rock. In the mid lane, Elda is just eating wave after wave with her dragon pistol gun shooting fireball thingy. And like I said, Rift Herald is probably going to be the next point of contestation. At this point in time, I am pretty sure FPX are very much ready to fight. Rare Atom also, don't get me wrong, will be in a comfortable position. Going for the Arm Guard is Fofo, which I find very surprising, because Doing B, as far as I can see, hasn't really been going on to him very much. Doing B is pretty much just trying to soak up as many waves as possible, and the Arm Guard really won't save you against the Lilia, and not so much against the Malphite. Perhaps he's worried about LWX jumping him and one-shotting him. That being said, if he's in the mid lane, he's got nothing to worry about. The distance is quite short, he uses ultimate to disengage, and most likely he will not be alone. But if he's in a side lane, which he should never be in, he also has nothing to worry about, because at that point that's just a misplay and you shouldn't even be down there, and more likely than not you have someone shadowing you as well. So I'm not really sure what is up with this Arm Guard. Perhaps he's concerned about Nuguri's ultimate and wants to get Zonia's as soon as possible. However, this will really delay his power spike because, as we know, Orianna doesn't really do much until she gets a mythic item, and she does really not so much until she gets her Seraphs. In fact, to be honest with you, now with the arm guard as well as the tier sitting in his inventory, that's like 1,700 gold. About wait, I think it's about 1,400, 1,700 gold that has just been invested into things that are not your mythic item, that are really not your Seraphs. Damage is looking a long way off here from the mid laner of Rare Atom. All he's going to do is try and clear out waves. I don't think this is a good idea. I think he's going to be very, very lackluster in this team fight. He needs to get some huge ultimates, and even so, they might only be huge CC ultimates, as the last vestige of outer tower dominance looks to be going the way of FPX, who managed to hold on to their mid lane tier 3 tower with just a Tristana wave clearing with her auto attacks, by the way. 4 members of Rare Atom in attendance with only 3 members of FPX. However, the tower does still fall, and FPX are actually rotating to take this dragon, starting to snowball them out as soon as possible. Doing B in the top side, pretty much just having the time of his life by the looks of it. There's really no kill threat coming in here from Fofo. Fofo doesn't do any damage to Doing B at this point in time, and Doing B most definitely can kill him. So maybe that's why he wanted to have the arm guard, because he wants to be in side lanes to pick up the farm to answer the split push, and he's worried about getting Dolphin. In which case, kind of makes sense, I suppose. But I don't know if playing towards the split push is a good idea, is a better idea than playing towards the team fight. That being said, again, this kind of reveals a huge flaw in Rare Atom's team composition, because you have poke, you have team fight, you have disengage, but you don't have solid engage. You don't want Hung to be jumping in there, because Hung is the only thing stopping Chris from jumping into your backline. So I really think Rare Atom kind of outdid themselves in draft this time. I mean, like, literally outplayed themselves in draft this time, because you don't have engage now. You don't have solid engage. You've got an Udyr who's trying to run up to a bruiser and a tank. That's never going to happen. A bruiser and 2 tanks, in fact, if you count Crisp as well. And Nuguri is just picking out wave after wave, is almost behind 100 CS, and 2 levels down. But I mean, he really just needs to start. Once he gets to his second item, he's pretty much at the point in time where he's popping already. And then once he gets one MR item, I really don't know what Rare Atom's gonna do to him. They're gonna take some time to kill him. They've got definitely have the tools to kill him. Cube can probably kill him with his mana immunity eventually stacked. Fofo, of course, with the Leandries will also be able to do some work, as will iBoy with the Kraken Slayer. But it looks like Cube is looking to be taken down now. For level 14 against 12 and 13 as the ultimate coming in as well. Tian probably going to try and put him to sleep. 2 ultimates invested to take down Cube, but Cube actually flashing out. Will he get away from this? No. He nearly gets a trade kill down onto Nuguri, actually doing tons of damage with the Manamune and Eclipse build. And despite that, Rare Atom, they cannot find anything on the other side of the map. They do not have the engage. They do not have control over the map. It's just unfortunate. They can perhaps try and threaten Baron. I mean, Kraken Slayer Kaisa does do Baron damage, no doubt at all. It looks like Fofo is set on finishing up his Zhonya's as his second item, and as long as he gets it, I suppose he will be safe. But as of now, I haven't really seen him under threat at all. And perhaps when the time is important, when it comes down to it, that item will be game changing, I suppose. But as of now, I feel like it would be much better if he invested it into the Seraphs to get some damage. That being said, he also hasn't been part of many fights, so it's hard to say where his item build is going right or wrong, I suppose. In the bottom side of the map, Hung actually going for the Shrille's Revelry to try and assist his team in getting a little bit more of the engage as well as the disengage, as iBoy jumping into throwing his Prey Seeker down towards Crips, wanting to farm up that top side, but seeing that Doing B is in the area, Doing B could potentially use his ultimate onto him here as Crips is walking up as well. Pace are going down in the mid lane, but FPX is incredibly split across the map as of now. Looks like they're very comfortable just taking it slow in this game, allowing both teams to scale up, just wanting to play off of team compositions and coordination. Fofo in the mid lane is using plenty of mana to start farming, however, definitely not as much as Doing B seemed to be using in game. Was it 2 or 3? I think that was game 3. Meanwhile, despite Eldoret getting continuous wave after wave of free farm in the mid lane, he's actually only 20 CS up on to iBoy, as opposed to Cube, who has at this point in time is inching towards eclipsing Nuguri, with Flame horizoning him, honestly, in terms of CS. Cube is just a monster at this point in time. Still 2 levels up, but FPX looks to start up it looks to start up Baron, doesn't want to participate in that split push game. Rare Atom, realizing this, is actually rotating both their top laner and their jungler up as fast as they can. And will they be there in time? It looks like they will. Chris spotted out on the wall, giving knowledge, giving no letting Rare Atom know that they are in the area as Leon jumping in here, but Chris actually there to Chris there to CC him. Leon jumps in. Oh my god, what a buster shot! But are you kidding me? Fofo stealing out the Baron. How is that possible? Tien using his smite too early. I think the fact that Leon jumped into the pit was enough to force Tien to smite early, and then Fofo coming in there with the ultimate as well as his W. And honestly, there's plenty of good plays there. LWX with a fantastic buster shot, just shooting Rare Atom off of the map. Now, things are most definitely in favor of Rare Atom for the next 2 minutes, because with that split pushing Jace, you could potentially do a lot of work. As you see here, looks like Cube is working towards that Lord Dominance, really wanting to shred out as much of Nuguri, Doibi, and Crisp as possible. Nuguri has finished his second item, is now working to his third item. Is he going for Gargoyle Stoneplate? Perhaps could be looking to get a Force of Nature in the mid lane, trying to siege down the tower slowly but surely with wave after wave of Baron minions. Is the members of RA. Fofo, apparently you don't need the damage. I suppose I should bite my tongue. You don't need the Seraph's Embrace damage, I suppose, as the Zhonya's apparently provides you more than enough. Doing me teleporting in, will most likely look to use his ultimate here. Dragon is spawning in 2 seconds. FPX's Crisp and Tien have been taken slightly low, however, and there is no way to sustain. Fofo trying to zone as best as he can with his ball. Looks like Dragon will also go over in favor of Rare Atom, as Sleep coming down onto Hang using his body slam to get out of the way. Cube missing out with the Shock Blast. And looks like there is nothing here to be taken. FPX actually losing everything in the last 2 minutes. Looks like iBoy in terms of stats is really not doing so well in overall. However, Rare Atom, they're in playoffs. That counts for something, and many other teams are not in playoffs. As we see here, what the heck happened? So Leon jumping in here, and then Tien. Oh, that smite. It wasn't even a shockwave. It was just a normal Q coming in from Fofo. Oh my goodness, unbelievable. That Fofo, let's go, baby. But he really isn't doing much damage with that Zhonya's, with the Ionic Boost of Lucidity, and with the tier. His only damage item is really that Liandry's. So the fact that he managed to steal that is made even more miraculous, if you ask me, in my humble opinion. FPX here slipping slightly in the mid lane as the gold lead going in favor of Rare Atom, now 2.2k ahead. Nuguri now has officially been eclipsed completely by Cube in terms of CS, 100 CS down. The next thing that Cube could potentially look to do is to try and double Nuguri's CS, but the only way I see that happening is Nuguri kind of AFKing forever, pretty much. As we see here, a slight problem emerges for the members of FPX. Losing that Baron means that the split push is going to be so strong here, as the last outer tower of the game looks to be falling down to the hands of iBoy. Hang body slamming over the wall as Nuguri looks to be dove here. Tien is over the wall. This is an easy ultimate coming in here. Cube taking no damage with that Eclipse shield, and Tien actually really not contributing at all. Forced to flash out is Cube from this fight, but the tower going down, tier 2 going down in favor of Rare Atom, both in the mid lane and in the bottom side. That Baron might be enough to swing the game in favor of Rare Atom, as it's quite a huge power play, if you ask me. Getting so much from that, getting 3 towers and the dragon, as well as the gold you get from killing Baron buff. Now, I must say, overall, FPX, they're still in this. So far, the composition has seemed slightly shaky. They are most definitely still in this, but I guess we'll have to see. Chris also not doing so well in the spring. Looks like Chris also not doing so well in the regular season for spring split. However, again, these stats, do they matter? Slightly. Very much not so, because they are here, they're in playoffs. Cube hit level 16 already. Nuguri is 2 levels away from that power spike. Looks like he's walking towards... Looks like he could potentially be working towards that Force of Nature to try and catch up to Fofo later on in the fight. So far, I keep on bashing the members of RA, but I must say that doing these, Kled really has not contributed very much at all to his team. Has provided some split push pressure, but really not as much as Cube is exerting onto FPX currently, so I really don't know what to say. CS lead has grown, that being said, in favor of LWX. Item wise, we have 2.5 items on to Lian, 2 items onto Tien. 2.5 versus 3.5 items coming in here from Cube, not including boots. Cube versus Nuguri, of course. In the mid lane, it's about 2.5 items versus 2.5 items. Sorry, 3 items versus 2.5 items. As in the bottom lane, honestly, items are pretty similar. There's only a long sword and difference between the two, and both the supports seem to be actually a support advantage going over towards Hang. Questionable how much that gold will matter. Meanwhile, let's see what happens here. As a bad fight going either way could still lead to the end of the game. Degree providing some split push pressure, getting himself to level 15, one off from his level 16 ultimate now. As Fofo is splitting, I don't know if that's what you want, because I'm pretty sure Cube is a lot more effective in the side lanes, can't really do very much here. LWX is chunked out slightly by that Shock Blast, and I would very much prefer to see Fofo rotate towards the mid side and Cube up to his top side. But that being said, I think Fofo does need the money. Actually, no, Fofo has finished his Seraphs now. And, at that period of time where he would have been otherwise weaker as Nuguri tanks up the Shock Blast and taking literally 0 damage, as the point in time where he would have been weaker if he went Seraphs first has eclipsed. It looks like I was wrong. I will admit it. Fofo, you're a beast. I was completely wrong. With the complete lack of damage in your build that I would expect, you still managed to steal Baron, and you've managed to avoid fighting until you finish 3 items. This has been overall a very slow LPL game. As Hang again eats the Scroll Seed, but very unlikely that he will be put to sleep. Dragon is spawning in 20 seconds. Looks like Vision is going either way as the tussle begins here. The tug of war for Vision in the river begins. Crisp. Oh, Elderbeck's eating another Shock Blast. He's gonna have to try and regen that back as soon as possible as Liam posturing aggressively. In comes Nuguri! In comes Doingby as he jumps onto iBoy. iBoy using his ultimate over the wall, but Doingby giving chase. Liam trying his best to reach his 80k to try and peel him off, but Nuguri has been blasted into the members of RA. That is not the member you want as iBoy is taken out. Doingby flashing over the wall. Elderbeck's flashing after him as well, but Liam is too freaking fast. Cube running, doing very little. That ultimate from Hang was potentially, unfortunately, game-changing in favor of FPX because he threw the rock into his team. That was disaster if I had ever seen it myself. Fortunately for you, your Orianna and your Kaisa were not next to you, or they would have been instantly CC'd by that big rock. Unfortunately for him, however, Doingby actually making plays. See, again, it's like Caster Curse but reverse, because every time I mention something unfortunate, that person who I'm talking about referring to actually just starts making a play. So I don't know what to say at this point in time. As we see here, a 4v5, no AD carry coming in here from members of Rare Atom, but they do have the Jace Shock Blast, they do have the Orianna ultimate to try and steal it. Chris channeling his Hex Splash, jumping over the wall, actually baiting. Oh my goodness, what is happening here? As Lian going over the wall, trying his best. Nuguri jumping in after him as the flashes come in. Two members being put to sleep as Fofo is put into Zhonya's, but it looks like the top and jungler of FPX are just going to bludgeon the remaining members of Rare Atom to death. Tian eating the Prey Seeker needs to start running away now as iBoy has arrived. iBoy unfortunately will not be able to go in, as going in will lead to certain death and disaster. Tian still has his Zhonya's as well, as Nuguri just flew in there, as did Tian with his Q, putting 3 members to sleep. But of course the Zhonya's coming in from Fofo, saving him from that, not really saving him from very much else. Teleport coming in here from Nuguri to continue the siege. Elderlex is just strutting from mid lane, trying his best to get there as soon as possible. If he was here already, this tower would most likely be dead about now. And looks like they're never gonna need him, honestly. Just the top, mid, and jungle of FPX bludgeoning people to death, and Elderlex trying his darndest to catch up. Lian can try his best to run up and make a pick here, but really, who are you gonna pick? Nuguri has hit level 16. Cube, I'm not quite sure. I think he's 17 at this point. Yes, he is. Is coming towards the point where it's pointless. Oh, here we see Doingby. Lian very smart here, trying to block out. How the heck? Oh, Doingby using his slide and then using the second part of his dash onto iBoy. iBoy trying his darndest, but Chris flashing in as well, using his ultimate. And then that last Q, perfect prediction. Doingby flashing over the wall to try and finish up Lian, and beautiful side step here by Crisp. And then the blast part is used. Chris jumping back over the wall with the crash down. Smite coming in too early on the side of Lian over there. And then, whoa, Nuguri 2-man. And then Tian decides, I want some 2, heading a 3-man Q, trying to put members to sleep. LWX nearly getting one shot by Cube on the side there. Actually saved by the E of melee form Jace. Nuguri looking literally massive, taking negative damage from the Shock Blast since about maybe the 25-minute mark. Lian trying his best to zone off the members of FPX from this mid lane. However, FPX is not interested in mid lane, as Doingby is on the top side trying to siege down that tier 2 tower. Vision is fully in the favor of FPX at this point in time, and Baron buff and a Tristana means there will be no base racing this team. And that being said, Rare Atom has come back to base. Nuguri is on the flanks. No flash in this fight for Tien. As he uses ultimate for beautiful Zhonya's. Unfortunately, I don't think that was saving as Chris is standing on top of him. Cube jumping in onto Chris, but his buster shot backwards. iBoy in the backline. Elderbest being soloed out here. Is no one going to help and save Elderbest? Elderbest does have the range advantage, however, and it's actually just kiting out iBoy. Unbelievable. Just 3-shotted by auto attacks. iBoy couldn't do anything in that fight. I didn't even see what was going on in the backline. iBoy, I saw him use his ultimate go in. I saw Elderbest jump out and just auto him 3 times. Literally just using the range advantage in his case. And Cube, as much of a lead as you may have gotten, my friend, unfortunately it is not enough as FPX advance on to round 3 of the playoffs over the hopes and dreams of Rare Atom. Fantastic plays here coming in by both sides. Chris doing a fantastic job. Nuguri finding a key pick there onto Fofo. Very quick fingers with that Zhonya's. Unfortunately for him, Chris was waiting right above his golden stature and was ready with the R, with the stun, and unfortunately with the crash down as well. As here we go, the bow from the champions of 2019 Worlds as they head off of the stage now. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching and following with me on this series. I cannot wait to cast the next series, which I think will be Suning versus World Elite, because it looks to be a pretty banging game. Thank you so much again for watching, ladies and gentlemen, and we will see ya next time.